Welcome back. Stay out of politics. That seems to be the lesson learned by a trio of the West's most famous luxury brands, Versace, Coach, and Givenchy. Each has apologized for new products that mislabeled Hong Kong and Taiwan as not a part of China. Missteps that outraged millions of Chinese who responded with threats to boycott the brands. What does this impassioned public reaction reveal about the sentiments of Chinese society today at a time of heightened tensions over both Hong Kong and Taiwan? And what do these corporate apologies say about the growing influence of Chinese netizens in the world's largest consumer market? Well, joining me to discuss this in our Beijing studio are Ms. Han Hua, a fellow at the Chongyang Institute of Renmin University of China, and once again, Mr. Victor Gao, Vice President of the Center for China and Globalization. Thank you for joining us, Victor. Thank you for staying with me. Let me start with Ms. Han first of all. Versace, Coach, and Givenchy, they were all found to be selling apparel that identify Hong Kong, Macau as an independent country, and Givenchy also listed Taiwan as a country too. Versace T-shirt labeled Macau as such. Versace's creative officer, though, came out to apologize on Instagram, saying, I'm quoting her words, "Never have I wanted to disrespect China's national sovereignty, and this is why I wanted to personally apologize for such inaccuracy and for any distress that may have caused." But how could such errors really happen, and why?
If it happened to only one company or maybe a couple of companies, then it could be called an error. But I think this time it can be called both negligence plus the arrogance for the past in the history of these international brands, the multinational companies towards Chinese market. On one hand, they want to make money. They certainly want to make big money from the Chinese market, because Chinese market has been accounting for about 1/3 at least for the international luxury brand sales overall. But on the other hand, they are not, for the business 101 principles to pay respect at least for one country's sovereignty. They are just neglecting that. They think it's not a big deal, so it is a universal common practice for international brands to make this quote-unquote error. And I think it also echoed with the current tensions from Hong Kong and Taiwan, given the tensions happening there. And so it's raised apparently from online users, especially the younger consumers from Chinese market about this, and they have raised awareness towards, and they are outraged by this action.
Well, this is a big deal today. What's your thoughts on this, Mr. Gao? Because some people are giving them the benefit of the doubt here, calling this, well, maybe careless error, because one of that same T-shirt mislabeled Brussels as having 2 L's. Well, what do you think?
Well, first of all, at least it's a big sign of lack of cultural sensitivity, political sensitivity. It lacks a firm understanding of the culture and politics situation in China, and they did not do their homework to really understand the patriotic level here in China, involving the 1.4 billion Chinese people, for example, and they simply didn't do their homework to really understand the sophistications and the complexities of the Chinese history over the past 150 years, for example, and why, for example, there is the People's Republic of China, and then Taiwan, then Hong Kong, SAR, etc. And I think to be a successful global brand, you really need to have all these sensitivities. You really need to know what the people think about, what the political system is all about, and in that case, you will be on safer ground and make more money probably, and with a bigger conscience and ease of mind. So I think they need to do a lot of homework and to scramble into action and first of all correct all these mistakes, and then commit themselves to never making such mistakes again.
Right, and the timing of it seems to symbolize something greater, right? How much do you think, Ms. Han, the tension regarding Hong Kong or Taiwan is playing a factor here, not only playing a factor in how China reacted, how Chinese government reacted, but also in how Chinese public reacted?
It's a combined consequences. When we look back exactly 1 year ago, we noticed that almost over 40 international airlines, together with the international hotel chains, are warned by the Chinese regulatory authorities about their negligence and their carelessness about putting Hong Kong, Taiwan, even Macau as either labeled as a independent country or a equal partner towards the mainland China on their websites. This time, a year after this time, it is because of the products. It surfaced, the problem surfaced from out of backstage background into the surface because they have made international brands have made some products out of that, and because of this tension, it is highly connected because of the tensions are rising now in Hong Kong in particular. So I think the younger Chinese consumers are reacting to that together with the Chinese government and the trade associations. I think that, like Mr. Gao said just now, I think especially the Chinese branch offices of these international brands should do their basic homework. In the past, they do not understand the culture. They only understand the superficial culture because they also made some Chinese tailor-made, Chinese market tailor-made products out of their international brands. But indeed, they do not understand Chinese people's awareness and their regard towards the sovereignty. So this is the time to give them the lesson.
Well, some observers are saying that China is becoming more vigilant in quote-unquote policing how companies or countries labeling places like Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan. Do you see that? Do you see it that way?
Oh, if they do, I think that's the right thing to do. I think the Chinese authorities should give notice to probably all the companies having operations in China, giving them a deadline before which they need to correct all these mistakes. And then, after that deadline, if there are still such mistakes, then there will be much higher penalties. And then each Chinese citizen or netizen can really do his or her homework to try to find out whether there are still mistaken identities. We do not want to see the confusion involving Hong Kong, Macau or Taiwan, which are part of China, but definitely they are not separate independent countries on the par with China. And the one country, one China system, one China principle is a cardinal principle as far as Chinese people are concerned. So we consider that as a cardinal matter, a very important matter, and I hope these top luxury brands will eventually share our sensitivity and will deal with these very important issues with enough care, and eventually it will be done for their own business benefit.
Right, and this is not a new problem. You mentioned a little earlier. What would you suggest trying to do to put these kind of questions to rest once for all?
I really don't think it can be called policing, but I really like Victor Gao's proposal regarding the penalty and awards measure towards international and the multinational companies having business practices in China, because this is the basic respect to a country and to the people in this country's respect of their sovereignty and their domestic practices as well. Not to mention that these international brands are making big money in China, accounting for most of their market share from the Chinese market. So this is the basic they should do.
Right, and I gotta mention this, as of this moment, the hashtag Yang Mi stops working with Versace. Well, Yang Mi is one of the celebrities here in China, a female actress, very famous. This hashtag has attracted 1 billion views already on Weibo, which is the Chinese version of Facebook. Mr. Gao, how do you think, how influential are Chinese celebrities in swaying Chinese public opinion, especially concerning brand preferences?
Well, as Ms. Hai just now mentioned, China market is already one of the most important, the largest market for almost all these luxury brands, and it probably will continue to do so and further rise up in terms of the percentage. And the Chinese consumers are highly influenced by celebrities one way or another, and therefore these celebrities in China do carry a lot of impact and influence. So when they really walk out of these luxury brands. Probably for a short period of time, the luxury brands, they may get the benefit of rising recognition, but eventually I think there will be fewer consumers interested in their goods. So I would say it will be absolutely important for these luxury brands and all the other commercial companies to realize the sensitivities here in China and to deal with these top issues involving sovereignty, One China principle, for example, very carefully. If they do the right thing, it will be in their own interests, and then their consumers will also have a high level of comfort in using their products. Eventually it will be truly a win-win situation.
Ms. Han, how do you think all of this is being received by these foreign companies? How do they view the backlash from Chinese consumers?
I think if we look into the history, the multinational companies have been doing international practices in many markets. And after China's opening up and the reform, Chinese market become more and more important. But in the past, they have their own experiences and practices in overreaching the other markets by having a strategy which is combined international practices and the local strategies. So the way of their hiring or inviting the local celebrities as their ambassadors of their products with their brands is a way of the localized strategy. This is their successful approach. But on the other hand, they do not respect, the Chinese consumers' deepest concern regarding the country's sovereignty. So this is the concern.
Thank you very much for staying with me, Ms. Han Hua and Mr. Victor Gao. Appreciate it. And that does it for this edition of Point here in Beijing. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.